Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open with a morbid scene of a young girl attending her mother's funeral. Her auntie Cora says, "Tough luck kid, you're living with me now," so Susan refuses and runs away into the cemetery. Cora wails away but puts in zero effort to prevent her niece from discovering their messed up family's mausoleum. It appears shrouded in both fire and rain, and as the firstborn approaches the front gate it swings open automatically. Inside the crypt, Susan finds a green fog emitting from a sarcophagus marked with her peculiar family name of Nomed. The groundskeeper, or possibly some random bum, follows, but a hooded cryptkeeper curses the man, causing his head to pop. Susan's eyes glow green and she kneels before the tomb, reaching out and pricking her finger on a crown of thorns. This allows a demon with faces for boobs to depart hell and possess the firstborn female of the Nomed family like it did her mother. The demon can only be defeated by reuniting it with the crown, and Cora knows this but still couldn't put one leg in front of the other. The film jumps ahead 20 years and Cora is given a gray wig to look older, while Susan's grown into a beautiful woman who spends most of the film undressed. One day Cora tells their psychiatrist about Susan behaving like her mother did right before she died, but Dr. Andrews doesn't really care. He's like, leave that poor woman alone already, as Susan is shown bringing flowers to her mother's grave on the anniversary. She's drawn to the mausoleum and enters just like before, when suddenly waking up at home with her husband by her side. Oliver had nothing to do with Susan getting home, and she has no memory of what happened, as we got a split personality situation. The couple have a pervy gardener named Ben with the hots for Susan, and he tells Senor Ali that the tree stump will be gone by next week. That night the pair go out dancing at a club, but Susan draws the attention of a drunk lumberjack in a suit. When Oliver steps away from the dance floor to take a phone call, Grizzly Adams makes his move, but the lady isn't interested. She leaves when Oliver returns, but is groped outside by the same creep and needs to hold her husband back from ruffling his little afro. While waiting for the valet to bring them their car, Susan's eyes glow green and she causes the perv's car to catch fire. Despite the wife groping, Oliver tries to save him, but Susan keeps the doors locked until Grizzly burns alive and the car explodes. The next day Oliver goes to work like nothing happened, and the maid Elsie is out getting groceries, leaving Susan all alone with the bellybutton fingering Ben. The wily gardener slithers his way inside with a request of a cup of coffee, then flirts with the married woman. As Susan, she kicks him out of the house. Then moments later, when the demon takes over, her eyes glow green and she gets all breasty. She makes the mansion's doors rattle, causing Ben to freak out and approach them cautiously with his axe drawn. Susan answers, returning the flirtatious behavior, but now Ben's too afraid to come inside and just goes back to cutting the actual grass. Sometime later she walks out onto the balcony overlooking the yard and seduces Ben by letting her towel drop. My man is helpless to resist, and when the sun goes down Susan lures him into the shed where the demon intends to kill Ben. That's not to say they don't get busy on some filthy floor mattress first, but afterwards Susan transforms into a grotesque silhouette. She hacks up Ben with a fork. Then later, when Oliver returns from his trip, he's lucky enough to be the second person to sleep with his wife tonight. Not noticing the smell of garden trimmings on her breath, the next day Oliver leaves for work so that we can get some more demon action. Cora visits with some real estate papers to sign, but unlike Ben, rickety doors aren't going to frighten this woman, as she just slams them closed. She gets no response from Susan until going upstairs and finding her niece possessed and looking rather devilish. The demon uses telekinesis to lift Cora out of her shoes and over the balcony, where she rips her chest open for fun, I guess. That evening Susan waits for Oliver to return from work and has no memory of the attack, as the demon must be cleaning up the mess. During the night Oliver wakes to see her sitting in a chair looking like a deadite, so he's like, nope, and walks straight out the door. He calls the therapist instead of a priest to ask him what the hell's going on, so Andrews says bring his wife around in the morning. Susan steps into the room and a nervous Oliver's left wondering if it's his wife asking him to come to bed or the grotesque intruder. As she sleeps, Susan dreams of random scenes we've already seen, but also one revealing the family name is just demon spelled backwards. The next day Oliver ignores Elsie's plea that there are some spiritual matters she needs to discuss, as he's late for work. He rushes off while Elsie goes upstairs to see green smoke pumping out of Susan's bedroom and immediately turns tail. Since she couldn't get through to Oliver before he leaves, she goes to the kitchen and pours herself some of that good stuff.
I ain't been this nervous since I've been black.
Once she's got that liquid courage in her, Elsie goes to check the room, but one look at whatever's inside and she's out of here. The smartest person in this movie packs her suitcase and skedaddles, never to be seen again or answer this family's phone calls. Oliver can't seem to get onto their maid nor Auntie Cora or their gardener, but the pair are way too relaxed about all the disappearances. When Susan visits the psychiatrist, Dr. Andrews does multiple takes removing his glasses, so you know that he's serious. He tells Susan to lie back and hypnotizes her with a crystal dial and vague claims of her being sleepy. Without any other prompting, she begins talking like a 10-year-old girl again when she first stepped foot in the mausoleum. She suddenly sits up, glowy green eyes, and mocks the psychiatrist for treating Susan for the last 20 years without even knowing she was possessed. It's kinda strange he didn't, considering he tells paranormal expert Roni that the Nomed family has a known history of possession. Once he takes Susan out of the hypnotic state, she doesn't remember and goes home like it was a regular old therapy session. Andrews plays a recording of the session to Roni and says that he first diagnosed her with schizophrenia, but that doesn't explain the green eyes. Once Roni reads the family journal, she recommends following the procedure of using the crown of thorns to neutralize the demon. Meanwhile, a delivery man arrives at the house with the wrong address and Susan answers the door in a very revealing nightgown. She lures him inside with the promise of letting him use her phone and says that they'll go to the bedroom once the call's made. Unfortunately for Casanova, the demon melts the side of his face, or the phone does, but either way it looks like it hurts. That night when Oliver arrives home, he finds Susan in the dusty attic playing with a possessed-looking toy box. She had enough sense to hide the delivery man in his van but not clean his blood off the phone apparently. Fortunately, Oliver's a moron and doesn't think much of it, while any other questions are just deflected by his wife's demon. The next day, Oliver visits Dr. Andrews to learn everything we already know about his wife from Roni. Meanwhile, Susan visits the mall and, presumably while being controlled by the demon, steals a painting from an art gallery. The owner tries to chase her down, but she goes all green-eyed and somehow nobody notices her levitate this man off the ground. She hovers him over a table in the center of the mall and drops him onto some sharp artwork that I presume he doesn't survive. When Oliver finds the painting, he's like, "What the hell is this crap? It's the most devilish thing you brought into my house." Susan says that she's keeping it, but when he leaves the room, the demon causes the painting's eyes to bleed for whatever reason. The couple argue throughout dinner, mostly over stupid stuff like how much Susan hates to be called Susie. Later, Oliver sees Susie's bath time as the perfect opportunity to apologize for the fan service of the audience. As the two have a soggy embrace, Dr. Andrews arrives at the cemetery to retrieve the crown of thorns from the Mausoleum gate. The demon in Susan senses him removing it and lashes out by using her demonic nipples to bite out her husband's ribcage. I don't think he makes it either, while Dr. Andrews with the crown in hand arrives at the house to meet Oliver. He sees his dead body and barely reacts before being startled by a random black cat, because those are always thrown in somewhere. Susan's shown walking upstairs as the demon, but by the time Andrews finds her, she's looking like herself and behaving like a child. This is where she's been stuffing all of her victims, and Susan begins to change into the demon while complaining about her mom for some reason. Andrews says he's going to finish what her father started, which is the first time we've even heard him mentioned before placing the crown of thorns on Susan's head. She completely transforms into the toothy nipple demon while writhing in pain and oozing a green liquid. It falls to the ground and reverts into Susan, while the demon's sent back to the mausoleum looking all depressed. The hooded figure's there to welcome it back, where the demon just kinda hangs out on the edge of the sarcophagus like a wet rag. Susan survives, and for some reason Andrews drives her to the mausoleum, saying that she must be the one to trap the demon. They enter the chamber and Susan appears as her 10-year-old self to place the crown of thorns onto the horrendous-looking chest. The demon lays down without any fight and closes all 6 of its eyes before the lid seals shut and the Nomed family curse ends. Susan and Andrews leave the mausoleum, but before they depart the cemetery, the therapist tells the hooded figure to keep guard. It's revealed to be the horny gardener that Susan forked to death in an unexplained twist just for the sake of it. And the movie ends.